68. I can't remember, but that is like major for her entire family, because she sent other people to me who, hey, my mom bought a house at her age, I know I can buy a house, or my aunt bought a house. And it just feels good to have that sense of purpose while making a decent living, that we can kind of change people's lives and direction of their lives. And real estate is kind of the keystone to generational wealth. And so I'm just happy to be able to do that for other families.
Awesome. I love each and every one of your stories, just from all different from backgrounds and aspects. Yet, what shines through each and every one of you is your passion and your love for your clients and for the industry. Okay, so what books or podcasts are you reading or listening to right now? And what do you recommend as a must read, or you've got to listen to this podcast?
So I am a lover of podcasts. I took some notes on this because I listened to some really good ones. And actually, most of them are not real estate focused. Mm-hmm. The Startup was a great podcast to listen to in my first year. I would definitely recommend it to new agents. What it does is it follows the struggles of new companies starting up. It helped me get through a lot of really dark days by thinking of other people who are struggling. Wall Street Journal's The Future of Everything is everything. It gives me some really good ideas. I feel like it keeps me current. The Big Payoff is really helpful. The Copy Blogger is probably one of the few ones that I listen to that gives me really good marketing ideas. The Great Girlfriends is fantastic. And I haven't read any real estate books. I have a hard time with that, which is odd because I read so many sci-fi novels a week. But I do watch a lot of YouTube.
Lisa, what were the ones after The Future of Everything and prior to The Great Girlfriends? What were those two, the copies?
It was The Big Payoff.
Big Payoff, okay.
Yeah, it's run by two women who have, I guess, marketing and finance backgrounds. It's really, really good. And then The Copy Blogger is really good for marketing ideas. I would strongly encourage everyone to look into that one.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They're in the chat box too. That's why I was typing.
I guess I'll go if nobody else is going. I listen to all kinds of stuff. I listen to a lot of YouTube, like Lisa. I'm obsessed with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. So I watch a lot of their interviews, a lot of just information on them, because I just think that the just the mindset of being a great athlete plays into just being a successful person in general. So I listen to a lot about them. I've read this book, Relentless, that's about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. That's really, really, I really like. And I also listen to like just different little, like bigger pockets, just because I want to understand like the investment side of real estate so that I can help my clients. And then I listen to Tom Ferry quite a bit because he gives a lot of advice on just being a realtor, growing your business, what's going on with the market. And right now, as an office, our entire office is reading Ninja Selling, which it's a book, I'm sure everybody's heard of it. It's a book I heard about years ago and read years ago, but now we're reading it together as an office. And it talks basically about how you don't chase clients, but you actually attract clients by the person you are. And which that's more of what I'm trying to move into with my career, is not chasing people, not trying to get clients or attract clients, but actually just becoming a person that's a person of value that people want to work with, and that I offer so much value that I'm naturally attracting the right clients. So that's what I'm on right now.
I'll go next. So I'll be short. I'm listening to a podcast right now called Earn Your Leisure. And basically it gives you so many different financial tips from all different standpoints, from the mortgage side, the real estate side, just the everyday, how you should be budgeting and investing and things of that nature. And it's really, really, really good. It's two young guys out of New York. And the book that I suggest everybody should read, that I've read several times, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm sure we all probably heard of it, but it's a phenomenal book. And I think no matter what walk of life you're in at the moment, I think that book applies.
I'll go. So I am not that person whatsoever, unless you want to count $1 Million Listing Los Angeles. And then, I watch that. But I really focus my sort of research hours focusing on publications that are local and brief. Like I just read the really lovely little feature on Chrissy Boyd in Realtor magazine. So I read Realtor magazine every month. I read Top Producers cover to cover every month. I read the Preservation in Print, the magazine put out by the Preservation Resource Center every month. I read a lot of articles on Inman, but I'm not a podcast person. I get too distracted, or maybe my dogs distract me, I'm not sure. So I kind of focus on things locally, city business and those kinds of things, because I found really valuable information in those publications, not necessarily related to just real estate, but related to business in general, that can be, adapted and applied to our profession. So I find those, keeping my focus a little more local has been a big benefit to me. So.
I can piggyback. I'm pretty much the same thing. I don't read books. I don't have the attention span for it. It's taken everything I have to get back into that Donaldson real estate book to study for my exam. So the things that Brett mentioned, those are the things that I read for enjoyment. And I love to, I love everything real estate. I love to read about real estate, hear about it, talk about it. So it's really cool, especially with the Real Producers magazine, to see some of your fellow agents out there. And it's like, oh, I've done a deal with that person, or I haven't heard from them in a long time. So it's kind of almost like a good way to catch up.
Yeah, I read the Real Producers every month as well. Love reading about all of y'all. I actually listen to a short podcast in the morning when I'm getting ready, Power of Positivity. And I'm an Audible person because I did move to the North Shore last year, so I do have that bridge. I can still commute, 5-6 days a week. So I'm an Audible person. So I'm in the middle of doing the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's what I'm working on. And then, of course, the Bible. With everything going on, especially in the world today, I'm really, trying to be into the Word even more.
Awesome.
Good.
We got everybody on that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I put some of the notes in the comments if you didn't catch any of those podcasts or books or magazines. That kind of leaves us in, what Sonnie was sharing with what's going on in the world right now. Share with us how you chose to adapt and shift your business during the COVID pandemic. How did you guys choose to maybe push forward? What were your thoughts about that?
When all this started, obviously we didn't know what was going to happen. So the first thing I did was went back to the MREA and said, okay, where can I cut the budget? Where can I, tighten the belts? Where can I spend more time doing lead generation? So I really, really started loving on my database. I know we're supposed to do that all the time, but, we get busy. And so I really started loving on my database a lot. And I've seen a lot of referrals coming in from that. I bought one of those Matterport cameras, and I do a 3D tour of every single listing now, even the rentals, which I wish I'd have done a long time ago because you don't have to run out and show the rental to everybody. So it makes life a lot easier. And then doing Zoom buyer presentations, I'm like, wow, I could implement this from the future, going forward, because sometimes it's hard to get those buyers into the office and do that buyer presentation as to where everybody has time to kind of sit at home and be able to do it. So, and then of course with, we started doing open houses again, and I have my assistant outside, and we make sure everybody has a mask on, they're social distancing, they sanitize their hands before they enter, and we only allow, so about 6 people in the house when we do open houses, just to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah, I was at the beginning of the pandemic. I was lucky. I had a couple listings that were getting some attention. I was dealing with 3 buyers, and we were actually under contract for one of those buyers. And she works at home. She does marketing. Her biggest client was the NBA. So we know what happened with them. So her job went from 100% to like only 20%. So we ended up backing out. Luckily, within the past couple of weeks, they've called me and we're starting to look again. And then one of my other buyers that dried up, I actually had his closing right before the call this morning. So it's kind of bouncing back. But with the marketing piece, I really, sitting at a computer and doing that and not having anybody to talk to is a detriment to me. So I hate doing all of that stuff. But I started thinking of some really cool marketing things to do, like, that I learned in top producer Brian Buffini's class. But one thing I did, believe it or not, which was like a huge thing, my database grows. I have over like 200 people in my circle. So what I did is I was like, wow, we have this pandemic and all this crazy stuff, and we are locked in our houses and we can't really do anything. And I was talking to my husband, I was like, remember last year when the craziest thing was the chicken sandwich fights and how everybody was talking about the Popeye's chicken sandwich and you couldn't get one and they were sold out. You couldn't get it for 3 months. So what I did, the whole idea started, and I hit a roadblock because Popeye's doesn't do gift cards. So what I ended up doing is I sent out a Feret Realty note saying, remember when the biggest thing we were worried about was if you could get a Popeye's chicken sandwich? And then I hand signed everyone, mailed it to my database, and then I created a little Popeye's logo sticker, put a $5 bill in a brown envelope and said, have one on me, here's to old times. And I had so many people post that on social media and call me, and they're like, I can't wait to go get my chicken sandwich. So it was really cool. Like, I mean, it started the creative juices, even though it's a terrible thing that we're going through, but, it kind of, I found a way to make the best out of it. And it worked. And it was really fun hearing my clients say, oh, that was really cool. It was a good idea. And then seeing them post it on social media was just like free marketing,
My biggest change, I think, during COVID has been not really allowing too many people to come on the showings, because with a lot of my clients, they like to bring their family members, right? They get excited. They want their mom to come. So now I have to limit that to whoever's on the loan, and they just have to take pictures or do videos or something like that, just to limit my my exposure to a lot of people. So that's been really my biggest challenge. Luckily, business is still really good. And of course we have to mask and socially distance and all of those things. But I think when I first tell people, hey, only the person on the loan can come to the showings, is a little bit of a shocker, but we're just working through it and pushing through.
I think for me, I'm a little older age demographic, and so I read the younger kids stuff on social media, and they're always talking about old agents and how we do business differently. But I mean, I'm that person that likes to talk on the phone. And I have a lot of clients who are in the medical field. So those were the first clients that I reached out to, and I didn't text them. I didn't email them. I picked up the phone and called them and had a conversation with them just to check on their well-being, check on emotional. My ears are gonna fall off. They were going through a lot, and still are, as we all are. So, but I really felt that personal connection was very, very important. So I spent a lot of time reaching out to my database, making phone calls, just checking in with people. My business really slowed down because the vast majority of my people were people who were repeat clients ready to buy the next house. And they're all like, oh no, we'll stay home. We've got a roof over our head. We don't need to worry about this. So, but it was kind of great for our company because then we could, you know, everybody being a little bit slower, the Witry Collective, we, you know, kind of enabled us to brainstorm and really work on doing our virtual, you know, putting together a nice format for doing our virtual tour with our marketing person, Melinda. We did some cooking demos at different listings to sort of showcase the house and, you know, and so on and so forth. I personally tried to, you know, if I knew people who were struggling, you know, fellow colleagues or clients that were struggling financially or whatever, you know, I'd make a little something and take it to them and deliver it to them, because that's what I do. I mean, I always, you know, I cook all the time. For any of you who follow me on, you know, we're friends on Facebook, you see my dinner almost every single night. So, you know, so that's how I sort of, you know, sort of adjusted my business, was just making those personal connections and really checking in on people and kind of making sure you circle back, not just a one-time, you know, sort of crash and burn, you know, a drive-by, but just staying connected to them. And now my buyer clients are back, sort of, you know, like Kiley was saying, my clients are now coming back out saying, okay, let's move forward with our plan. So, you know, so, but it's been an interesting time for sure.
Yeah.
I'll hop in. Yeah, it's an interesting time. When COVID first kind of hit and things slowed down, I got nervous and I was thinking, oh my goodness, you know, how is this going to affect my business? How's this going to affect everything I have going on? So I got nervous. Then I've got a business coach, a really good friend of mine, and we talked about it. And you know, you come to the realization that every difficult situation has opportunity. So that's how I started looking at it, as this is an opportunity. So everybody was on their phone, everybody's online because they have nowhere to go. So I used it as an opportunity to get on social media, do live videos, be the source of information instead of putting my head in between my feet and, you know, not doing anything. I use it as a way to reach an audience. So I really, during that time, ramped up, you know, marketing as much as I could. And like Brett was saying, I would reach out to my clients, just check in on them. How are y'all hanging in there? You know, how's everything going? How's your family? And really, I'm having the best year that I've had. And I think it's really because I reached out to them, I talked to them, and I was probably in touch with them more than I'd ever been. So just having that personal touch and like, I was sending, you know, food to some of my clients that I knew were nurses or worked in the medical field, just giving them a little care package. And I think that has made the difference in my business today. So it has opportunity. It's still difficult, but there is a lot of opportunity in this crisis.
So I haven't really done mailers like everyone else has, or deliveries. I am getting ready to do a couple of them. Shout out to a little something pretty on Instagram. They are helping me with that. I would definitely recommend you all check them out. They are doing really great home deliveries. One of my friends runs the company. What I think has changed the most for me since COVID has really been more about how I run my business. I was very lucky in that I had a lot of stuff under contract when we went into quarantine, a lot of stuff actually. But then I had 4 contracts immediately fall through due to financing. Those were probably one of the stressful 30 days of my real estate career, and it was physically exhausting. You all, everyone here, I'm sure can relate to how much we were all running around to kind of hold things together. That feeling of everything falling apart combined with a couple other things that were going on made me pivot a little bit. It made me change how I market my clients. It gave me the courage to kind of step off the cliff a little bit and not so much worry, be a little bit more selective with my clients and how I chose to engage with them. You know, the people who were determined to ignore COVID and wanted to do face-to-face meetings, I just accepted that I was going to lose some of that business. That was a really big, difficult pill to swallow Danette can attest to this. We spoke about this in the last WCR thing. It's the whole idea of letting business go. That was terrifying, but it made me change how I market to people. I've got some really great ideas in my pipeline that I'm going to be rolling out. One of the other things that I've done is I keep a whiteboard in my house and a notepad with me at all times. I am constantly checking in on my clients. They probably hear from me more so than they have ever heard from me. I think that people now more than ever need reassurance. The home buying process, we all know, is terrifying for people who aren't used to doing it all the time. And I just feel like they need someone to kind of soothe them a little bit more than they normally do, because it's scary.
Jody, you're muted.
I thought I was going crazy.
No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep everybody muted and everything, so I apologize. Thanks. Thank you guys for sharing and for opening up and being real about how that impacted your business and what you chose to do. And I love some of the terms that you guys use. There's opportunities in crisis, and getting creative and knowing that our industry is ever evolving and we have to be on our toes and think outside of the box. In one of the, in relation to this, Stephanie was asking, is there anyone that's taking temperatures before people are entering the houses, whether it's an open house or whether it's a showing? Are any of you guys putting that into play at all?
I have
I'm not. I still have a side job at Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm never quitting. I told them they're going to have to fire me. I'm going to hold on to that discount for life. I can. But one of the things that they do at that store, they are taking social distancing really seriously, and all employees have to be scanned when you come into the building for the day. And the first time I walked in, I wasn't aware of that. So to have, a temperature reader shoved in my face unexpectedly was a really weird sensation, and it felt very much like a violation. So I'm just not going to do it, but I'm also not doing any open houses. My clients are aware of our protocols of how we're going to look at property or how our meetings are going to go before we meet. And I've actually been really lucky to have a lot of medical staff this year, more so than ever. So it hasn't really been that much of a concern for me.
I had a broker tour for the first time in a long time on Wednesday, and we all masked up, and it's you kind of have to change the way you do things. A stack of pens so people can sign in if they want to. I wasn't requiring people to sign in, but it's really cool that even some of the restaurants have adapted to doing things that you can just it's individually wrapped. You can grab it and go eat it, on your way to the next tour, or popping in just grab something to eat. And then sanitizing, as people are leaving. Luckily, it would have been nice to have a lot of people, but the pace of the flow of the tour went really well. But everybody respected us wearing masks, and it was really cool. One of the agents stayed behind and ate her lunch there, which kind of made me feel a little bit weird. But aside from that, I think we did everything that we possibly could have done safely, but kind of giving you the old vibe of what a broker tour, used to be like before this happened.
Yeah, I agree with what Lisa said. At my office, when you walk in, they're taking temperatures, and I didn't know it. And the first time they did it, I was like, a heads up would have been nice or something. So I feel like it was kind of intrusive. So I'm not taking that practice with my clients or open houses. We're all wearing masks and we're staying distance, and I make everybody sanitize their hands, and I sanitize mine, and I try not to let the clients touch anything. I touch it, and then I'll disinfect everything when we leave. And same as I think it was Melissa who said it. If you're not alone, you don't need to come look at the house. The less people, the better. And that's for my protection. It's also for the owners of the home's protection as well. And I've had some properties that are occupied and the owners are like not really wanting people in their house. And I make it mandatory that only the people on the loan are actually going to view my listing as well.
I think that was Cherrian that had said that.
Yeah.
Okay. This may be along the same lines. If you feel that it is, just let us know if there's something else, because I know we just talked. What do you feel is your biggest challenge in your business or in today's market? And I know some of you may talk about, I don't want you to feel like you have to repeat if you feel that it's COVID, but if it's something that's different, what do you feel is your biggest challenge in your business or in today's market?
Well, I'll say, the whole like really loving on my database and calling everybody and just saying, hey, how are you doing? It wasn't about real estate when we're all quarantined and all this first started. I really enjoyed that. And it was just having conversations, and some of these conversations were 30, 45 minutes, and it was just touching base and catching up and just showing that, I care. And now that I'm so busy, I don't have the time to do that. And that's kind of bothering me because I'm like, this really needs to be that whole part of my business, implement it, that whole lead generation, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week that Keller Williams, burns into our heads, but then we get too busy to do it. So right now I'm so busy again that I don't have the time to do that. So that's kind of the challenge I'm taking on right now. I'm going to have to wake up at like 5 a.m. and I'm not a 5 a.m. person.
I'm running into the same thing. I'm really busy right now, like the busiest I think I've ever been, and just juggling it all, trying to juggle it and be patient with people and loving with people. Because I have clients that want to sit on the phone and talk for an hour and they want to talk about everything they have going on. So I have to manage that with love. I try to be loving and give them their time, but at the same time, I have to juggle other people. So that's been my biggest thing now, just juggling everything I have going on, which I look at as a blessing. So I say it's a blessing, but it has to be managed as well. So, and also the biggest thing is carving out a little time for myself, because if I don't give a couple of hours or a day or whatever to myself, then I'm no good, and I'm kind of, I'm not at my best. So working on juggling, of course, COVID, because you have to be safe at all times and making sure that you're doing everything, not exposing yourself to anything. And also juggling, because the market right now, everybody's buying because the interest rates are so low. So, and trying to give everybody the attention that they need.
I'm gonna piggyback Melissa. Same thing. For me, it's the database. I'm so busy. I haven't mastered the 30-hour work week that Kiley was talking about. I haven't gotten there yet. Probably 60, 70 hours a week.
Right.
And with that, I'm not the best that I could be with the follow-up and keeping in contact. And then I give myself no time and no love because I just don't have it to give at the moment. So I need to find some balance so that I'm not burnt out and I can continue to be the best for my clients. But yeah, all of my personal needs and my businesses and everything just, taking care of everybody else. Sometimes you tend to forget about yourself. So I'm trying to find some balance.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's really cool to hear that everybody that has spoken has kind of taken a focus when we were slow. And then now we're all so busy that we don't know what to do with ourselves. And it's like, So what I've had to do is I've had to become more organized and, sit down with my assistant at the beginning of the week and say, look, this is the plan. Friday, we have to divide and conquer. Like I got a showing request on one of my listings at 11:15 today. Can't go. So I was like, we have to divide and conquer and get this game plan happening. And oh, by the way, on Wednesday, we're going to have to sit down and do the same thing because everything's going to be changed. Or we're going to have to divide and conquer in a different way. So, I feel very lucky that I have, that support. But, when I'm running around like a chick with my head cut off, that's when I perform best because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, that my clients are going to be happy. They're going to be moving into their own houses. And then we have, a check. So it's when I'm this busy, I just kind of keep focused and get to the light at the end of the tunnel.
I think one of the biggest challenges in today's market across the board is the fact that interest rates are so low and so many people are now in the marketplace, jumping into the marketplace and in the buyer pool, and and so you're back to the days of trying to find the right house for those clients, and and competing offers and so on and so forth. And that's just a shift in the market. We see that everything's on a cycle. It shifts to be more favorable to buyers, it shifts to be more favorable to sellers. You'll always see that over the period of time that you're in the profession. But I think that's a challenge right now, is that managing those clients. I've said this time and time and time again, and I will say it probably until the day I die on somebody's front porch, is that giving yourself permission to say no is a perfectly acceptable, allowable thing. You need to, in order to service your clients and be the best version of you and your professional self, you need to be able to take time and recharge and regroup and have some self-time to keep your sanity intact. Because the reality is that when you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and we all are guilty of this, even me, even still, you're not giving the best quality service a lot of times. That's too easy to make mistakes. Yes. It's too easy to overlook something that then comes up, rears its ugly head later down the line, and now you've got to scramble to extract that issue. So giving yourself permission to say no is perfectly acceptable. And I think that's a challenge that is in today's marketplace, but always in our marketplace, always in our profession. And so that's just a little bit of wisdom and advice, hopefully, that I can share with everybody, that it's okay to do.
That's good, Brett.
Yeah, that's great. I would say my challenges are, I'm just going to piggyback on all of y'all. It's the same thing. Time management is really a struggle right now. Thank God for my notebooks. I'm just going to say that. I keep two in my purse. One of them is in shorthand. The other one is in case a client happens to take a glance at it. You get it, Jody. I will say my other challenge is kind of an offshoot of the time management, and it's that I don't have as much time to do marketing work as I would like to, which makes me really anxious because I don't know what's in my pipeline in the next coming months. So letting go of that fear has been a daily challenge, and reminding myself that I'm fine. I've got a lot of contracts going. I know, 5 people or 6 people at a time who are in my pipeline. I don't need to worry about November. I can't control what's in November. But that has definitely been a significant challenge right now, because as we're all seeing, the market is shifting every day. April was horrible, especially with what was going on with the Federal Reserve. That was a very important lesson to learn, which is, your actual business model could change day to day in the midst of a pandemic, a global disaster.
A natural disaster.
I was going to say natural disaster, and then I decided, let me be,
right? Yeah.
Go bigger.
I'll retract that statement.
Through this, through the pandemic, where different things are coming out, I heard a news report that they were increasing the number of proposed storms to hit the area and to come in to be named storms. And this is a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, whoa, wait, like, I don't know who's reporting that, but y'all need to rewind that and revise that. Like, we can't have that happening in this area right now. So, okay, I think everybody touched. Did we miss anybody on that one? Okay.
I think we got them.
All right, I'm sorry, Lisa, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, I think I was the last one.
Okay. All right, so now we get into the fun stuff. What question do you have for one of your peer panelists?
I have a question for Brett. I think you've been in the industry the longest out of everyone on the panel, right?
17 years, so I think so. I don't want to speak anybody if I'm not, hopefully not stepping on anybody's toes by saying that, but I think so.
Okay, so what piece of advice do you have for us for longevity? What can you give us so that we can make sure we have a long and fruitful career?
I think one of the most important things, and I've spoken to somebody about this recently who is here today. I think one of the most important things is to treat this as a profession, treat this as a career. Do not refer to this as a job. Treat your career with respect, and you'll get respect in return. And figure out how you want to grow your business. It takes a few years to really get in and sort of understand the dynamic and so on and so forth, but find the path that can grow your business the way you want it to run. You know, some people, you know, want to have an assistant and a buyer's agent and so on and so forth. They want to put together a team, you know, like, but for example, for me, I wanted to just sort of refine my clientele. You know, I wanted clients who buy at a higher price point and so on and so forth. So instead of, you know, I'm going to be 61 on Monday. So instead of doing 55 or 60 or 65 transactions a year and selling, you know, 10 or 12, $15 million, whatever that is, I want to be able to do that in 25 to 30. Right. And that's how I have worked really diligently, probably for the last 6 to 7 years, since about 2010, 2009, 2010, have really worked to sort of groom my profession or my business in that manner. And I think that's one of the most important things, is to forecast your future. You know, Kiley, you know, if you work 30 hours a week on an average, good for you. You figured out something that I've never been able to. But
that was probably somewhat of an exaggeration. But it's a lot less than I was working in a restaurant.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's for sure. But that's, I think the important thing is, how do you get yourself to a place where you feel like you've got a quality of life, you can travel to Europe, so on and so forth, but your clients are still being taken care of. You're still producing the income that you want or that you need to have the lifestyle that you've become accustomed to. And we all get to that place too. So don't talk to me about shoes. But so I think that's what I would say, is really look at how you want to shape your business.
So one more question, Brett.
Sure.
So what does refining your clientele, what does that look like?
Really, I mean, keeping in touch with your young professionals. You know, you're probably dealing with a lot of people who are first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And they're at the start of their professional career. Well, you know what? And maybe they have one child. Well, those people in 5 years are going to have maybe 2 or 3 children, and they're going to have worked their way up the professional ladder. You know, so then they're going to be ready for that next house. Yeah. So going back and keeping in touch with those people is really, really crucial. And, you know, I mean, I do things, you know, a lot of things the old-fashioned way. I mean, my clients all get a sent through the mail picture postcard every single year from me for Christmas, or a picture or a greeting card at Christmas. You know, I do little things like that. And so, like I said, I think it's just really important to constantly be in touch with your database. So as they move forward through their life, you're the first person that they think of when, you know, depending on if they're working for gas and oil, somebody's coming in who's an executive, and they can say, hey, I've got this great realtor, you know, and they send that referral to you. When they're ready to buy that next house, you're the first person that they're going to call.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Brett.
You're welcome.
So I was the person that actually called Brett about a month ago for some advice, and that's exactly what he told me. It was really, really great advice. I was thinking about restructuring some things at the time, and it kind of gave me some really good perspective. So I would encourage everyone who doesn't already do that to kind of take that advice to heart, because it helps, you know, it changes your mindset a little bit. I have a question for any of you. I'd just be curious to know how you all handle this. When you have a just really bad day where everything that could go wrong goes wrong, I'd just be curious to know how you all handle it. How do you kind of dust yourself off and get ready for the next day?
You mean other than Xanax and vodka? No, yeah. I'm just teasing. I mean, I think I'll go back to, and I'm sorry, I'll just keep this really short. I'll go back to the basics is that, you know what, make sure that do your best to get home, decompress, find the thing that you can do that always sort of brings you to center. I think like a lot of people in our office, that's yoga. For me, it's going home and playing with my dogs, and that's how I regroup. And that's when I walk through the front door and those, 8 little legs and 2 little wiggling butts, that makes everything in my world okay, and whatever bad happened that day go away. But I think sometimes too, Lisa, is that sitting down and looking back at your past year, your past 2 years in the business, and reflecting on all the successes that you've had and setting the failures or the challenges of one day bring you down. Just take a half an hour to reflect on your career and in its entirety. And I think that would really help as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're still on that question, but I feel the same way, Lisa. I mean, I have bad days too, but I try to look at it differently and not really always look at it as a bad day, but really it's just part of the business, right? So not every deal is going to go to the closing table. It's just a part of it. And talking to other agents, like sometimes I'll just talk to somebody, and when I get off the phone or talk to a friend or something, I feel better and I feel like, okay, this is okay. And sometimes I have to shut it down. So sometimes that means I have to turn off my phone for an hour or however long it is, just to kind of regroup myself and pray or go get a pedicure, whatever it is that kind of feeds my spirit so that I'm okay. So yeah, those bad days, they do come, but I think just how you view them sometimes, because it's just, you get through it. It's just a bad day. It's just a bad situation. But a lot of times those situations actually work out, I find. It's sometimes, you're fighting with the deal or something and it ends up working out and you've gotten yourself all worked up and stressed out and the deal goes to the closing table. So I think just how you viewing it a little bit differently, maybe talking to somebody, maybe a more experienced agent, like somebody like Brett that can kind of calm you down a little bit. And then just kind of turning it off for a minute and just feeding yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, we're still asking questions of one another, right?
Yeah, we're still asking questions of one another. So okay. Absolutely, go for it.
Something really clever. Sonnie, you go.
Actually, my question is, so I've been thinking about that whole self-time and, we're super, super busy and going to church on Sunday is really important to me. And I was actually having a conversation with my mom about this, how, that's the Lord's day and I need to take that day off. So I was curious to know if there's any other agent that's like, I'm just going to turn my phone off on one day a week and I'm not going to answer it, because to me, like, my phone is attached to my hand at all times. And that's one of the things that my clients praise me about, is that I'm always available no matter what day or time it is. But I am going to get burnt out if I continue on that path. So, do you say no, like this day or from this time, I'm just not going to be available and you shut it off? And if so, what does that look like?
I take one day a weekend.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I take one day a weekend because Armand's, he works Monday through Friday. So on Saturdays and Sundays, we actually, when he got into the mortgage business and having a regular schedule, it's easy to kind of plan around having one day on the weekends where I don't do anything with regards to real estate. It might be sitting at my computer for a minute or whatever, if we're sitting at home getting ready to go somewhere or whatever. But it's a day that I will not go out and show houses, or I try not to work, just so we can enjoy having some time together. Because usually, like, during the week, it's blah, 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 real estate, because we're both in the industry. And then we kind of get burnt out. So like that one day, we try not to discuss anything about work. And kind of to piggyback onto what Brett said earlier about vodka and Xanax, like I try to do, like, on a Saturday or a Sunday, I try to have like a boozy lunch so that I know that I am totally shut off for the rest of the day because I don't want to answer the phone and make an ass of myself. So I purposely do that so that I'm totally like off the hook for the rest of the day.
So you just don't even answer the phone. So
if it's something important, I might do a text, but I will not answer the phone, especially after I've had boozy lunch because I sound like an idiot.
Right.
So Sonnie, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. every single day. It's automatically in my phone. It's been like that for probably almost a year now. And as of a few months ago, I do not work on Sunday. So I will take a phone call, and usually I keep them pretty brief and short, but I will do no showings on Sundays. That's my one day. I typically don't leave the bed on Sundays because I'm exhausted. So I stay in bed and eat ice cream or whatever it is. I Uber eat some food here. I watch some movies and just kind of take that day for me. But yeah, I do not work on Sundays.
So I don't take a day. I'm just not there yet. I wish I could. It would be, oh, hey, Delisha, little person.
Again, happy birthday.
I wish I could, to be quite honest, because running too hard means that once every 3 months I have to take a day off because I'm just physically exhausted. But what I do is I tell my clients at our very first meeting, I call it my hours of operation. You know, I inform them you can reach me 7 days a week, but these are the times that you can get me on the phone. These are the times you can only get me via text. And my phone times are pretty much 9 to 5. Once 5 o'clock rolls around, you can text me. I'll try to get back to you. But, you know, if you're expecting a lot of work done after that, and I have a client who routinely texts me at 10 o'clock at night. And he knows that sometimes I'll respond and sometimes I won't, but that's the only way I've managed to kind of cut it off a little bit. And even still, that doesn't fully work.
Yeah, no, I set my clients up from the get-go when we do the presentation and give them hours of operation, and it doesn't work. And I'm like, email me after this time, and I'm still getting text messages and phone calls. So then it's like, you know, I don't want to work right now. Call me tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know that fine line of not responding or not answering. It stresses me out when I don't respond, and I know a client's waiting on an answer from me. So then it starts to stress me out. So I'm like, I might as well just answer it, so I'm not stressing myself out.
Well, I think the crux of what everybody's saying is, and we all know, is managing your client's expectations. That's something we do through the entire transaction. The entire process of finding them a home or selling is managing their expectations. And I think the ways we communicate and the hours that we communicate is one of those components. And some people, Sonnie, some people are just never going to take no for an answer. We all know that. But I mean, I'm very clear from the first buyer session or the first time I meet with the seller is that, you know, my phone's on from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You know, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturday. But unless I'm negotiating something or, you know, I mean, I'll work beyond those timeframes if, you know, we're in the middle of a multiple offer situation or something like that. And on Sunday, it's 3 o'clock. I'm not working past 3 o'clock. And yes, of course, like I said, there's always going to be those clients that are going to push that envelope, or those clients that goes in one ear and out the other. The best you can do is just give yourself permission to turn that phone off. Don't just turn it to silent, turn it off. You know, unless you've got, you know, unless it's your only means of communication for your family and you've got an issue that you need to have your phone on or whatever. But I turn my phone off a lot of times. And then I don't know, so then I can't feel guilty.
Yeah. I've been doing the do not disturb after 8 o'clock, and but then I'm the type of person that's so used to picking up her phone all the time that I'll pick it up before I go to bed, and then I got 10 text messages and 5 missed calls, and so that's kind of what I'm, you know, struggling with right now.
I think it's teach people how to treat you, right? Because if you respond back at 9, 10, 11, they think now it's okay for me to text at 9, 10, 11. So even though, like Brett said, some people really don't get it. I have a client doing a contract for like a month, and he will still text at 10 or 11 p.m. and I never respond until 8:01 a.m. the next day. It's not my fault if he doesn't get it, but after 8 p.m., I just won't respond. And I think it's reasonable because this is our profession. They don't work 24/7 on their jobs. You know, they don't work 24/7 in their careers. So I think it's unreasonable to think that we should be, you know, at someone's beck and call 24/7. Like Brett said, if it's important, then yeah, of course, we're going to get it done. But if you're just calling to get my opinion on something, or you just saw a house that hit the market, I can't do anything for you at 9, 10, 11 o'clock p.m. anyways. I can't show you that property. So the next day, you know, you just have to wait until the next morning.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a question for the panel. When you're in a transaction with, you know, you've got the buyer and you're dealing with the listing agent, what are the important components of getting, in your opinion, what are your important components of interacting with the other side to get your deal to close?
Oh, how much time do we have?
You know, it was just, I had to ask.
I would say communication. We've all been on all sides of this where the communication is great and the communication is poor. And there is nothing that makes a transaction, I think, go smoother than just being upfront with the other side, even if you're being upfront about, you know, bad news, you know. The buyer's file is going into underwriting and the lender doesn't want to order the appraisal for 3 weeks. Just be upfront about it. You know, that's something that's out of our hands. We can't control it. If we just be honest, the other side will generally respond. They might not like that news, but they will respond positively. It keeps it from getting nasty. You know, there are so many times where I feel I'm in a transaction. Thankfully, I haven't had this happen with any of you lovely people, and I don't think it ever will, where it gets kind of out of control because the other agent is going tit for tat with me over things that are sometimes really simple or can be really easily resolved if we just kind of talk it out. And they don't want to for some reason. And I know that we all have clients sometimes that don't want us to be forthcoming with the other side, and we have to respect that to a certain extent. But I think just communicating, you know, even if you're communicating, I don't know.
And I think what you're saying too about communication, but more importantly, timely communication. It's like time is of the essence. You know, we have a job to do. There are deadlines that need to be met. And you need to, you know, the best thing about a transaction when you work with somebody that's on the same page as you, first of all, we're not in a war. We're not fighting. We're trying to get your client's house sold and my client in a new house. We want to work together to make the transaction happen. We don't have to sit here and have this animosity or it's a competition. Like, let's get it done. Right. And, you know, ultimately that's what we're here for. We're here to make our clients happy. And it's really discouraging when you work with someone and you feel it right from the beginning that this is going to be an issue. Yeah. You know, get it done fast. And then you sit around for a couple weeks and wait for the appraiser to do their thing and the lender to finish their thing. And then you can get some other stuff into your pipeline. When I first started in this business, like for me to have 8 contracts at one time, like I can feel the smoke coming out of my ears right now. For me, that's nothing now because, you know, you almost have to kind of train that other agent that you're working with. Like, this is how I roll. And we're going to roll like this together and everybody's going to be happy. And then, you know, it's just kind of like a cycle that if you can keep it rolling, it's just the timely communication and then not having any kind of animosity. Like, those are my 2 biggest things.
Yeah, I don't like fighting. I hate it. Like Kiley said, you can almost sense it sometimes. Even the beginning of the transaction, I don't care who holds the deposit. I don't care about stuff like that. So I just give it to them most of the time. I think agent relationships are very, very, very important. I know I've had deals saved because of my relationship with an agent before. You know, honesty and transparent. Being transparent is very important. Still holding your client's information confidential, but you can still be honest with the agent on the other side of the transaction as much as possible, so that they're just not waiting for something that may not happen or that's going to take longer to happen. So like you said, communication, and just building that relationship, because that client, you know, may buy another house or two or three, maybe, but you know you're going to come across that agent again more than likely, and you're going to submit an offer again, and you want things to go smoothly. So I'm really big on building relationships with the other agents that I have to work with.
Great. Thank you all.
All fantastic responses and input. And before we move to our last question, do you guys have any other questions for the panel? Okay. What piece of advice, and I think some of you shared this just a little bit, I think Brett shared. However, what piece of advice would you have wished someone told you or shared with you? And then any advice that you would like to pay forward?
I was told before I even got into this business, it was actually, I was working at Del Fuego as a waiter while I was getting my real estate license, and Leslie Hendel had already gotten hers, and she just started in the business. And I was like, look, I'm getting ready to get into real estate. What's your biggest piece of advice? And her biggest piece of advice to me, and it has stuck with me ever since I've been in business, is do not get upset when your friends or family don't use you. There's several reasons, you know, like trust me, would I want to do it again? My parents' house is under contract right now, and it was listed for 3 months. Like, but we're past that point. I don't know if I would ever work for a family member again. But, you know, when I first got into the Stompers, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, I'm buying a house. And I'm like sitting back like, call me. Why aren't you calling me? And a lot of, you know, there's a lot of reasons why people won't do it. And, you know, I don't know if I want my friends to know all of my financial business, you know, or this happened in the past, or I had to file for bankruptcy 10 years ago and I'm ashamed about it or whatever. So I get it. And then now that I'm in the business and I live uptown and my circle has grown so big, in and out of real estate, and you get to know that there are so many people that know a realtor in this city. I mean, it's 7 degrees of separation, I say, you know, for people in the world, but in New Orleans, it's 3.
Probably 1.
If you're in some kind of social organization, most, like for the Stompers, it's like, I think I have 1 degree of separation with everybody in the city. Yep. So everybody knows somebody. And then, you know, just in the organization, we have 8 realtors. So do I have to think that, oh, every time a Stomper wants to buy a house, they're going to come and talk to me? No. And it's kind of like you have to feel, you know, some people feel more comfortable with people who have different styles, you know, and that's the big thing. Like, I don't get offended when people don't use me, and I'm okay with that. And I'm their biggest cheerleader through the process. And hey, if you have a question, call me. I'll be more than happy to answer any question for you. You know, this is my profession. You are my friend. We're not working on a transaction together, but if you have a stupid little question that you think is dumb, ask me. I'd be happy to answer it for you, or I'll do some research, or I'll find the answer for you.
So I actually wrote down my answers to a lot of these questions in advance. And the thing that I wrote down as number 6 was build a Chinese wall and don't take it personally. So I 100% agree with what Kiley just said. I didn't really get offended by that too much when I first got licensed, because I got my real estate license during a time where I was pretty much very isolated from most people that I knew. It actually made building my career a very unconventional method. What I would tell someone who was starting off or someone who was switching from part-time to full-time is just to be patient. Some of us are lucky that they have the Midas touch and they take off right away and they're zooming to the moon. They've got a great sphere of influence. Kiley is one of those people. He's got a great sphere of influence. He's really good with talking to strangers. He's a very entertaining person. But the typical agent is not like that. The typical agent is going to start off their career with maybe doing $2 million in sales, if even, 800, it's okay to have an $800,000 year. It takes time to build up business. It takes time to kind of get things going. We're not living HGTV lives. We're not on $1 Million Listing Los Angeles. I would love to be, but we're not. Most of us aren't, at least. And I think that the advice I would give most people is just to we manage our clients' expectations all the time, but we need to also manage ours. We all have different marketing strategies. Some of you have some really great marketing strategies that I think are fantastic, but would never in a million years work for me. And we just have to acknowledge that about ourselves and move on, focus on our own business and the day-to-day and get through it, a very close relative, I won't say who it is because if she finds out, she'll get very upset, called me the other day and said, "Hey, I just wanted to get your opinion. I just spoke to one of my friends who's a real estate agent. I'm meeting with her broker tomorrow." I was like, "Girl, we are related, closely related. Why are you not calling me with this first?" And I had to accept that she was just nervous and uncomfortable. And she didn't want to, it was easier for her to bear herself to a stranger than it was to me. So that's my 2 cents.
I'll throw in my 2 cents because I'm always getting advice from people that I respect and admire in the industry. But just this yesterday or day before yesterday, somebody sat me down. I was frustrated about a deal that I had. My client is actually a friend of mine. I was taking things personal. Just kind of everything that was going on, I was taking it personal. And this friend of mine told me, stop taking things personal. Look at it differently. So don't take it personal. And like we kind of brought that up with everything, like your family and your friends going to other people. One of my best friends hired another agent to list her house. And I took it personal. But when I look back on it, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't take it because that probably would have been a nightmare. And then working with friends sometimes is very difficult, or family, because they expect more out of you, I think. And they're a little bit more difficult because they know you. But not taking it personal when sometimes our clients don't react the way we think they should react. So I had a client not reacting the way I thought they should, but I actually stepped out of it, took myself out of it, and put myself in their shoes. And that was like a big piece of advice for me. Just, this business, it's hard sometimes, but sometimes you just have to take your personal self out of it and look at it as business and kind of see where that other person is coming from. So that's all I have.
My advice is run your business like a business. When I was in the business previously, I'd, get a commission check, put it in the account and spend it, didn't save tax money, stuff like that, didn't start an LLC, didn't pay quarterly taxes, some stuff that's some things that people don't teach you. So run your business like a business, know your numbers, know where you're at, know when you need to play red light, green light. Sorry, I keep referring to all the Keller Williams terms, but that's what I know. And then also buy more real estate. Like start buying real estate now, as soon as you can. That's my tidbits.
My advice is just to stay educated in social media. Social media has been a godsend. I've been blessed to not have to spend money on leads and things like that, which I know a lot of agents do, and nothing wrong with it, but all my clients really are referral based and social media based. So social media is a way of, it's free marketing. People really do the work for you on social media. So I think having a good social media presence and staying educated and knowledgeable about all the programs and things that's going on. I still see realtors posting on social media, you need a 700 credit score due to COVID to buy your house. And I know that's not true. So I think it's important to stay educated.
Okay, so I'll wrap this up. I think one of the things, and this wasn't necessarily the case for me, but I know that a lot of it is the case for a lot of people who enter our profession. and I don't, and I think that the culprit is at a higher, bigger company level as opposed to, you know, your smaller brokerages and so on and so forth. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate that, you know, I am now part owner of a real estate company, and having something that belongs to myself and my business partners is huge. And but most people entering this business don't think of themselves as owners. They, you know, of a company. That Sonnie is right. Treat your business as a business. And I think that one of the things that people are not given is a really clear expectation of what this business can be like, the difficulty and the hurdles, the difficulties and the hurdles that you have to get over in order to become successful. I mean, I moved here 7 weeks before Katrina. And like Kiley said, everybody uptown knows, you know, everybody knows a real estate agent. It's 2 degrees of separation. I knew no one. Katrina happens, my mentor dies 3 months later. I'm sitting in a house in Bywater going, I should go back to California. But I really wanted to stay. And it's just proof that you can be as successful as you choose to be. You know, it's just, you have to focus on that business, and you have to have realistic expectations of what it's going to take to get to that business, or to get your business to the level that you want it to be. So, and the bit of advice that I would share to like to pay forward is, we are all in this together. We all will see one another a repeated number of times. We will all hopefully be across from the closing table from one another multiple times. Treat each other kindly, treat each other with respect. We all know, and we will all see at some point, that a client that you think is completely devoted to you will throw you under the bus and run you over 5 times. But, and that, you know, so clients can come and go, but we're all in this together. And how we treat one another and the respect that we pay to one another is very, very important.
Yeah.
And don't ever lose sight of that. Even if it's somebody who does their business very differently than you, there's something to be, that one thing that I've always felt, that there's something to be learned at each transaction, whether it's, you know, something new lending, but most often it's from the agent on the other side. You know, the information, the knowledge that I got just riding around in the car with Martha Ann as her client about the historic neighborhoods of New Orleans was invaluable. You couldn't put a price tag on that. And so that's something important to remember, is that everybody has something to add to a transaction. And that's it.
It's good.
Guys, I'm so grateful for, I'm sorry, Cherrian, did you want to add something?
Nope, that was good.
Okay. I just didn't want to cut you off. Guys, we all loved your comments, your advice. Thank you for opening up, for being real, for sharing. Right, you're absolutely right. We're in this together. The better that we can be together, the easier that it helps us to serve our clients and serve the community. And that's one of the things that Women's Council as a platform to allow us to do, to help encourage each other, to motivate each other, and to grow and just become better individually and professionally. So with that said, thank you. This was exciting. It was different than what we normally do. I'm so grateful for you guys taking the time, and just keep giving us feedback as to what kind of topics that we can bring to you as Women's Council, that we can bring to you and to the fellow agents. And we'll continue to do some real talks and just put some education and mentorship out there.
Just as a side note, I just want to say, I'm always available to talk to people. I may not be your broker, but I'm your colleague. And if you just want a third-party opinion, always feel free to call me. First of all, obviously, I love to talk, but more importantly, sometimes you just need a perspective. You know, you need to know who your crowd is. You know, and sometimes you just need a perspective outside of that. So my door is always open, so to speak. My phone is, you know, always on. Well, not always, but I'm available. So if somebody just wants some advice, or just wants to talk, or just wants to, you know, bounce some things off the wall, always feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to everyone.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was a pleasure being a part of this. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
you.
Absolutely.
Everybody have a wonderful afternoon and a great
Yes.
weekend.
Thank y'all.
Happy Friday, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
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 All right. Bye.
Bye.